thank you so much for being a part of this program. If this is something that has really meant something to you and you would like to contribute financially for us to continue, we have a website where you can contribute a small amount monthly that lets us trickle onwards throughout this program, and that is called Patreon. It's patreon.com/T@3. The link is also down in the description below. And thank you so much if you're over there already contributing to this. It means the absolute world to us to be able to keep doing this and know that there are people invested in this as much as we are. And it's so much more encouraging to keep going and have this like wonderful attitude, trucking forward, looking for good.
3, 2.
Hello, Graham.
Oh, Faith, I love that background there. That's wonderful. Look at that. And you look as if you must be indoors, not outside with that. Yeah.
Welcome back, everyone, to Tea at 3, Looking for Good. I think this is our 4th episode now of this new series that we're doing, where we come back each week having searched throughout the week for things that are good and things that bring us joy and share those with each other to spread even more joy. So here we are again, back at it. Yes, this background is because I have finally, after it's been freezing for months, what feels like forever, I finally acclimatized.
You have?
A little bit. The other day.
How do you know that you've acclimatized?
That's a very good question. So the other day it was 45 degrees outside, and both my husband and I were like, "Oh my gosh, have you been outside? It's so warm."
And that's how you know.
That's how you know. When we first got here and it was like 55 degrees outside, we were like, oh gosh, it's so cold.
So, my dear, are you going to lead first? What would be your pleasure?
I mean, I was pretty excited about the fact that I acclimatized to the cold. That was a big plus for me, especially since having gotten the propane heater last week. I used it a little bit in the garage, and it was still like pretty cold, but it made it like workable, which was really fun.
I've got an infrared bar heater, which have finally arrived. Ooh. And I've got it set out on my patio, and I have someone coming to have lunch with me in just a little while. And I've sat in front of this thing. It's very radiant, but it doesn't seem to do anything because it's outside. Mm. I think if it was in a garage, it would fine. So I'll let you know next week whether it works or not. So since you've acclimatized and found joy in that, part of me during this series is looking deliberately for things that give me joy. And not finding them. I find on my way to joy, we were talking about, and that metaphor has stayed with me, ripples are troughs and peaks. And so I'm looking for peaks, but I'm seemingly looking from the trough or at a trough rather than the peak. And I know that to discern a peak properly, you have to also reckon with the troughs that come before it. And it just seems to me, it's been pouring with rain here. And it has been unrelenting sunshine at a time of year when we really don't expect it. So it's just been glorious. And now suddenly, misty, rain, cold, and without an opportunity to have anybody indoors, to be able to have a hot cup of tea and chat. And the only way out is like I'm going to have in a few minutes, a cup of tea outside, with a radiant heater going and an umbrella up for the rain. And all of that is trough-like. So I had a friend who called me, and he was in the deepest of troughs. He's had 4 wonderful things that he does, which are superbly done on an international basis. And one after the other failed because of the COVID thing. And he is left now wondering how he's going to pay his mortgage. I thought to myself, I've got to find an answer for my friend. So I started to work on an idea I've had for, so long, about turning a restaurant into a place called MEP, which in French is called mise en place, which means you put everything in its place. And in every great restaurant, you've got the people who chop all the food up and get it ready and put it out in special trays. And then the chef comes along and puts a little olive oil and takes the onion, the shallot, and the garlic and everything and stir like this, and then makes this sauce and everything else from this and this wonderful dish, and out it goes. But he is able to do one dish after another because all the prep is done. So there is people nowadays like Blue Apron, who put kits together, and you buy the kit and you put it together at home. So I wondered, with 100,000 restaurants going out of business at the moment in the United States, whether you could convert an ordinary little restaurant into an MEP place, doing the pre-prep and making contact with hospitals and physicians who know that there are people with diabetes and hypertension and cardiovascular disease and obesity who are dying ahead of their time from COVID because it's an underlying cause. So why don't we put that need to change our lifestyle selection around the survival of the local restaurant and mesh the two together to put up kits which are appropriate to that person's need and flavors as well. A local customer bridging the gap. And I sat down and I was typing away like this, and it just flooded out of me. I sent it off. It seems to have got a little bit of traction, which just made me so delighted. So there, my friend was in a trough, and I was saying, where's the peak for him? And this came as a result. He called me back last night, and he said, not only did I get your marvelous little note, but I had a student of mine once years ago that I helped. And she now has a senior position in one of the great finance banking systems of the United States. And she rang me up today and said, is there any way that I could help you?
Oh.
And so she is helping him at the same time as this came through. So I can't tell you that the ripples of joy in me just are amazing. So all we need to do sometimes when a friend is in trouble is pick the phone up.
Yeah.
And say,
it can be hard to do when you yourself are in a trough looking for a peak.
Yes.
Like,
yeah. And I have a fellowship of troughing. I think when other people are really down, I can get down along with them because I don't know whether it's empathy or what it is, but I sort of feel, I know how you feel. And I sort of, there's a degree of comfort in being sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
I know that sounds ridiculous, but you draw the sorry back, oh, poor me.
Absolutely
Anyway.
know that feeling.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I just can't tell you how excited. So I've got another thing, but I want to hear from you now. All right.
Okay, so also speaking of how cold it's been lately, one of my favorite things to do back when I lived in Spokane was there was this ice skating rink that was called the Ice Ribbon. And it was downtown and it was outside, and you could it was like $30 and you could skate whenever you wanted for the whole season. And so I had gotten ice skates because I had taken an ice skating class in college and like gotten fairly good at it, and I really liked it. But it's not something you can just do all the time, especially with an outdoor ice rink. So the one in Spokane it's called a ribbon because it's kind of like a figure eight, but it doesn't touch in the middle. So it's like this.
Okay.
And then on one side it goes a little bit downhill, And so you like skate around and down and then over and then back up. And it's not very dramatic, but it's like makes it more interesting than just like skating in an oval all the time.
Yeah.
And it also has this a little like bubble attachment to the side that's just flat that you can like do. If you're an ice skater, you could do fun tricks on. If you were good enough to do tricks, you could do them over there. And I haven't found any place to go ice skating here because like indoor places aren't really places that you go during this time, and I haven't found an outdoor place here yet. And then this last week, so my housemate's coworker had talked about how like there's a park somewhere near your neighborhood that has a frozen pond that has like free ice skating, and it's just like part of the park in the winter. And then it had been really cold when she had said that, and then it had gotten warm again, and so I forgot about it. And then now that it's been cold enough for long enough, and I thought of it again because my husband and I had gone for a walk, and the river, the Clark Fork, which is a big river, was like largely frozen. It wasn't like frozen over, but there was like huge frozen chunks just like floating down the river, and then they would go like across the bridge pylon and like split off, and then there'd be this like straight line and frozen track. It was really pretty, but we're like, oh yeah, it has been pretty cold lately, hasn't it? I wonder where that like mystery park is with the ice skating rink. And so I don't remember how Jacob found it, but he found it and we went there, and it was great. It wasn't very big, but it was like there was like one other person there, and so we just got to like because we already had our own skates. We didn't have to rent skates. We just put our own skates on and like got on the little pond and like skated around. And it's not super smooth because it's just run. I think it's just run by like one person that like every so often turns the sprinklers on and kind of smooths it out. But the fact that there's just like a pond that's frozen somewhere on purpose as a part of a park that you can just come and ice skate whenever you want. It was a good find for me.
Do you think, listening to you, that you could actually Google the Google map, your area, and come back enough to be able to look around to see whether there's a body of water somewhere? Could you search for it?
Most of the water around here is rivers, not like static, but
yes,
it could be possible that there's a pond somewhere in the mountains that's fully frozen through. The one at the park is like, I don't think it's regularly a pond. They just like fill this kind of trough in the grass with water. Yeah. And so it's not dangerous at all because you can't fall through into cold water. It's just ice that they have built up. And so it would be a little bit scary to go on a real pond that was frozen. I don't know if it's actually routinely cold enough for that yet. Maybe it will be soon, but that would be fun.
I'm jealous of you. I've never been able to skate. Never.
Like you've never gotten the opportunity to try? Or
I did. I put skates on once, and I felt such a darn fool. You know, I'm too much of a perfectionist. I wanted to be able to do this sort of thing across the ice, and then I just wound up on my backside and feeling more than foolish. I'm afraid it's the same as water skiing. I had the banana the banana position. You know, where you're out here like this and not bracing you up.
That's one of those things that I've tried only once and been like, I don't think I could do this. This is hard.
Yeah, well, it's a moment of joy when you can actually get up on the water skis. That I found was a singular moment of pleasure, even though then you hit the water pretty hard, you know.
Bounce.
So your grandmother introduced me to kitsugi.
Oh yeah.
You're aware of kitsugi, obviously.
Yeah.
So you were familiar also with the fact that when my treasures corner cabinet fell not so long ago and everything crashed, one of the biggest crashes was a marvelous little sculpture, white sculpture of two doves flying together. And it broke into 6 pieces, which I found the pieces to it, and there were actually it broke into 7, and I haven't been able to find the 7th piece. So I looked at that online about kintsugi and how that was done. Have to have special stuff, and it looks very complicated, but they take a very long time to be able to show you. It's really very patiently done. Well worth looking at. So I got out my Elmer's glue, which was white. And I thought I might use white glue because it is a white sculpture. And I have reassembled.
Nice.
You see that there is a piece there at the back.
Oh, yeah.
That's the bit that's missing. Now, the other thing that you will see, I actually, under its arm here, that I did with silver because kintsugi is done with gold. And I didn't have any gold around. So I tried silver, and I don't like the way it looks. So that's going to have to be covered over. But otherwise, what I found interesting is that whilst I've stuck it back together, which wasn't easy to do, there's a lot of angles here, and I had to get poster putty and put it around each piece and leave a bit open so that I could do it. Anyway, so I love this, and it's very much Trina and I, we love it. So it can go where my treasures are. And there's enough of the brokenness, which I can see where it broke, to make me think of my life as well, and take great joy in the fact that I've been put back together again. And I am so grateful for that. And I really was a broken individual. And I think over time, that my faith is a huge part of that, is that I've been mended. But not mended to the degree that I can't see where I came from.
Yeah, that's the beautiful idea behind kintsugi, is that like they're doing it in order to make beauty from the flaws, from the cracks. Like,
yes,
I think in some ways you just you can glue it back together and make it so you can't really tell that it was broken, but then some ways of doing it, you like go back in and paint the cracks gold.
yes.
And so it's like
So
highlighting that like it was broken and you put it back together in such a beautiful way.
I think I might just do that. You can get these these silver. This was a silver, one of those pens, that does so. And there's a gold one that you can do as well. I don't know whether that's just a cheap way of doing it. Maybe I should just get the gold and paint it in. I'll let you know.
Here, let me show you something.
I love this. I do love this business when she rushes off to be able to do something, and that we can do that with you watching. I think it's just cool, so cool. This is what modern technology is able to do, which is personal. Yeah. Anyway, okay.
So I have a story that I don't know if I should tell, but I will, because my husband's parents, when we got married, got us a wonderful gift of a handmade Navajo wedding vase. It's like represents, there's a bunch of different metaphors in it, and the designs like all represent like married life. And it was all kind of as things are directly after a wedding, especially since it was at my parents' house and we were in charge of planning the whole thing and all that. It was complete chaos afterwards, and we had to get everything packed really quickly and moved out. And unfortunately, like the day after my wedding, it got broken. There's a bunch of unfortunate metaphors that you can put in there. But recently, I decided I was going to sit down and fix it. And the reason why it's taken so long, it's been 4.5 years now since we've got it. It's taken so long because it broke into a lot of pieces. And I recently decided to sit down and fix it. And unfortunately, I haven't finished, but I'll show you my process. Is that this is 2-part clear epoxy.
Okay.
And this is gold powder.
Oh, okay.
And so I've been mixing it with the clear epoxy and sticking it together. And okay, let me get one piece. I'll show you.
I hope you might be getting the idea at home that you could do something like this. Kitsugi, if you look it up on the web, you'll see all the kits that you can get to repair things, which are treasures. Oh my. Yeah. Isn't that wonderful?
The parts of it are green, so they're invisible, but
yes.
There's so many pieces. The part of the reason why I haven't put it all back together yet is it doesn't like fit perfectly.
Yes.
And I'm worried about it just being kind of crooked. But it looks pretty cool on the inside too.
Yes.
It's a little bit messy because I did it myself, but it's such a fun process to be able to fix something that you thought was hopeless. I mean, this was probably like 60 pieces that I'm trying to fit all back together.
Wow.
And like you have to hold each one for like 5 minutes. And so it's been a long process, but it's been
well, try getting some poster putty.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I'll write it down.
Just poster putty. It's also called blue tack or white tack.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so it's the kind of plasticine thing, and you can really melt it down properly. And then press it so that the two pieces are held together by the putty.
Mm-hmm. That's a great idea.
with just enough gap to be able to fill with the glue, and then then press it in just a bit tighter, and it holds, and then overnight it's secure.
Yeah, this thing has been I've gotten it down to 4 pieces now, and it's been in 4 pieces for like 2 weeks because I'm too scared to finish it. So I'm like, what if it doesn't look good at the end?
No, come on. I look forward to seeing it. They brought me such joy doing that I can imagine the joy it would give you. By the way, my best man put all of our wedding gifts into his car to drive it back to Wales, where we were going to be living, for us, and had an accident, and everything got broken.
Oh, no.
And it wasn't put back together again. We had china and glassware and everything else. Everything was crashed. Yeah. So anyway, so moving right along. I hope this makes sense. It's so immediate that I don't know whether it'll make sense or not. But so since I seldom make sense, it doesn't really matter. You see what this is?
Yeah.
Gore-Tex. And you're aware of that. You're a modern person, so you're perfectly aware. This is 27 years old.
Wow.
This jacket is 27 years old and has kept me waterproof during that time. This is waterproof on the outside, and it allows me to be warm enough inside to be able for evaporation to go through back out. So what is it called? Transpiration. Transpiration. In other words, protection here, ventilation there. All right. And I thought to myself, when you put a mask on, it's the same thing happening. I'm able to breathe, but this is a protection here, but there's also a protection going the other way. And I found out by going and looking at Gore-Tex that they use it as patches on the heart. They actually staple onto a heart incision. They'll put this on because the human vessels grow through the matrix of this particular machine. Whoa. If you have glaucoma, they can make a cut in your eye and put a patch of Gore-Tex in your eye in order to stop the pressure from the glaucoma as well. The US military have special outfits at 60 degrees minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit is protected through this same material. My goodness, woman, this is amazing material. So again, forgive me for this, or not, that's fine. I just think to myself, I'm living in a community of Gore-Tex covering, which has stopped us from having a single infection from COVID-19. That's nearly 400 people, some of whom would go out every day and come back every day. So we're not completely isolated. And we haven't had a single infection because we've done what we were asked to do. And we haven't got into, I don't know anybody who went home for Thanksgiving or had a party at Thanksgiving, nobody. So that's all very well, goody two-shoes kind of stuff. But we have been protected, and yet we're also a group of people that cares deeply about all kinds of people all over the world. And so we have both thoughts and prayers go through this material everywhere from this place. You know, we're not isolated to that degree. We are covered in, but we are breathing out. So when I realized that the other day, and I saw that tag, and I thought, I'm going to research Gore-Tex and see what that says. And I just got so excited about it.
Yeah, that's a really fun way of thinking of it.
It's just my strange mind. Yeah. Anyway. Oh, and I did try and learn what the material is, and I'm poor about this. Polyterafluoethylene. Polyterafluoethylene. There's 22 letters in that.
Oh my goodness.
22 characters. And I love the number 22 because I was born on it and married on it. And when I added up all those letters and it came to 22, I thought, that's it.
There you go.
There we go.
So I have one that I have horrible luck with cars in general. I've had 3 break down on me and 1 get totaled from an accident.
Oh, wow.
And I've only ever been able to sell 1. Every other car we've just had to get rid of. So, and I'm not that old. I shouldn't have been through this many cars by now, but I think I've had like 6 or 7 different cars, and I'm 27. But so when we were moving from Spokane to here, the car that we had got to the exit, or like the last exit we got on the freeway, got to the last exit that still goes to Spokane, and the car broke down. So we had to limp it to a U-Haul place, and we already had rented a U-Haul truck. So we just had to like add on a trailer to that, which ended up somehow costing more than the truck, which was ridiculous. So we added on a car trailer, got it on the car trailer, and towed it over here. And then we were able to fix it so that it kind of ran, but was too, I don't know, I just didn't want to drive it anymore because I was too traumatized by the fact that it had broken down on me 3 times or something, that car. We had fixed all the problems, but I didn't want to deal with it anymore. And so we stopped the insurance on it. We decided we weren't going to drive that car anymore. And at the time, I had a scooter. Our housemates had 2 cars that we could borrow sometimes, and we had bikes and things, and it was warm. And then my husband's father is a mechanic, so he fixed up a car down where they live in Arizona and drove it up to us, and we were able to buy that off of him. And so we have a new car, and this old car has just been sitting here, and we're like, yeah, we're going to sell it and we'll deal with it at some point. And we've just been like kind of putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. But yesterday we finally sold it, and it's gone, and it's off my hands, and I don't have to think about it anymore. And it's really great.
And you just think of it, you could have donated it to NPR, and that might have helped. Yeah. Well, my darling, I really am grateful to you. Just being there, knowing that I have this date of talking about joy with you. And I'm not so sure now and again that I wouldn't just close in on myself and say, this is a sorry time. It is a sorry time. There's so much darkness. But this is I look forward to this so much. And I have friends, you know, who are turning up. You're probably one of my friends now. Hi. And they get joy out of us too. And I can't imagine being a better ripple at a time like this than having this chance. So I'm so grateful. Thank you for making your time available.
Yeah, I mean, I remembered that we started this at the very end of April. I think May 1st was about when we released our first episode of it. But that was, you know, a month and a half into being completely isolated. And I remember during that time, just like, I didn't at any point like think that I should be searching for joy in that situation. I was fully just like, all right, I'm just gonna put my head down and wait for this to be over.
Yeah, really.
But having this, like, every week we talk about this, and now, like, through this process, finding this concept of looking for good, that is every single week that we have to talk about something, so you have to find something, and it's great. I love it. It's a great attitude to have.
Good. Well, thank you, my dear. I now have to go and cook up my lunch for my friend who's arriving any moment. So good. And look after yourself. Be careful. Wear a mask. Wash your hands.
Yeah, all of
and hug you.
So thank you so much for watching, everyone. This has been Tea at 3 Looking for Good. I am Faye Schmidt. This is Graham Kerr, and we will see you again next week. Also, it helps us out if you like these videos, if you enjoyed watching, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.